I wonder how many loops it's been. I remember I took one loop off for number 50,000. I even threw myself a little party. That was probably a few subjective years ago, though, and somewhere after the point I lost count. For a while, I was enamored with the idea that there were infinite possibilities, some combination of variables that would turn out to be the key that I could get right, that would make everything good again. I was wrong. Save Celestia or don't, doesn't matter. Wake Luna or don't, doesn't matter. Save my friends or don't, doesn't matter. The problem, ironically, boils down to not having enough time. If I'd cast that spell an hour earlier, I might have pulled it off. Maybe if I'd organized the stack of books I took down from the shelves in reverse alphabetical order instead of alphabetical order, way back in the distant past of 2 hours ago, I wouldn't be standing here right now. I just can't do everything I would need to do to stop the swarm in 3 hours. As soon as I can see straight, I grab Spike and send him to fetch a long list of ingredients, mostly potion components and a few other things. I rattle off the whole list quickly. I committed it to memory a long time ago. It's not worth the time it would take to teleport down to the restricted section of the archives and retrieve the book I found this recipe in. Besides, I know it by heart. Once Spike returns with what I need, I move quickly and efficiently in brewing it. Not a single movement wasted. It's an extremely advanced recipe, but practice makes perfect.
You know, Spike, if you hadn't found that spell book and showed it to me, none of this would be happening right now. It's really your own fault,
I say. My fault? That you're brewing a potion? What's it even do anyway? The potion changes from purple to orange, right on time.
It's not done brewing yet. I need one more ingredient. The heart of a dragon.
Spike looks a little pale and sort of queasy at the mention of the incredibly rare and powerful alchemical ingredient. That's gross, Twilight. Where are you even going to find one of those? I don't answer. I just glance over to make sure the dagger is right where I need it to be. Twilight? Why are you looking at me like that? 10 minutes later, the potion is all done. Even once it's removed from heat, it continues to bubble and send sickly green fumes rising from the beaker. I grab it, and in a single swig, it's down the hatch, biting and stinging at my throat on the way down. This is always the worst part. I double over in pain as the transformation begins to take hold. My skin flakes and peels away as chitin plates push themselves out. My horn warps and twists. Two sticky, oozing patches of membrane peel away from my back and buzz as they become more substantial and coherent, forming wings. The transformation is complete. I'm a changeling now. The first thing that hits me is the incredible feeling of connectedness, a huge network of minds sending thoughts and commands into my brain. The temptation to just release myself into it and let it consume me like a raindrop fallen into the ocean is strong. I've given into it before, let it obliterate my sense of self and integrate me into something greater. It's a magnificent feeling, but not this time. I am Twilight Sparkle. I am not part of you. The buzzing becomes confused and frustrated, but my mind is a fortress, and it's beaten back whenever it tries to assail me. I shift myself back to how I used to look. No sense in raising the alarm with all the unreplaced guards sooner than I have to. They were useful when I needed somebody to practice on while I honed my mastery of this body, but I'm far beyond that now. Besides, Queen Chrysalis should be finishing off Celestia right about now. Nice of her to kill 2 birds with 1 stone for me. She'll be weakened and the princess is dealt with. To Tartarus with her. She probably tricked me into finding that stupid spell book in the first place so I could stop this invasion. Wouldn't be the first time she manipulated me into being her weapon. I should have seen it sooner. Fastening my saddlebags, I travel straight towards the throne room. Every pony still thinks I'm just regular pony Twilight. Without a connection to the swarm, the changelings don't realize I'm one of them either. I barge in. Chrysalis the Celestia is resting on the throne, looking a bit winded. She looks down at me and smiles. One thing she never gets right is the smile. It's just a little bit too close to a smirk. Ah, my faithful student. What can I...
Save it, Chrysalis.
I throw off my disguise. It's very satisfying to see her and the pair of changeling guards surprised by the reveal. Now they know how every pony else feels.
I challenge you for succession.
Chrysalis recovers quickly, arrogant and assuming I'm no threat to her.
I don't know what exactly you are, little drone, but you will regret that.
The law of the swarm is clear. Rule by strength. If you want to be the queen, you have to depose the old one first. The guards are smart enough to back away. They might be caught in the crossfire after all, and their queen prefers to handle these challenges personally as a deterrent to anybody else who might get ideas. She darts off the throne, her sighs belaying impossible speed, and it's only because I know it's coming that I can get out of the way. The armored plates that make up her hide deflect my own counterattacks easily, not even scuffed by the most powerful blast of magic I can muster up on the fly. Chrysalis unleashes her own magic, and beams of energy rain down from above. The spots on the marble floor where they land are reduced to molten slag in an instant, radiating heat intense enough that I would burst into flames from even a few meters away. I prefer the times the beams hit me directly. Even weakened from her fight with Celestia, even with my foreknowledge of her actions, Chrysalis is a terrifying opponent. 99 times out of 100, she'd beat me anyway. This just so happens to be number 100. I spot my opening, a crack between two plates, a tiny chink in the armor. It's not an easy shot, and the last 3 times I got this far, I missed. I focus my mind on the most powerful stunning spell I can and release. My aim is true. The magical energy worms its way through the tiny crack, and Chrysalis screams as her muscles begin to convulse. Her legs wobble and she collapses to the floor. According to everything I've read, when a challenger defeats a reigning queen, they eat her to take her powers. I have no idea how that would even work. I mean, she's like 8 times my size. Besides, those others never had access to a blend of unicorn and changeling magic to work with. I whipped up something special I'm going to try instead. I walk over and touch my horn to the base of hers. Taking a deep breath, I start to siphon her essence into me. The rush of power almost bowls me over, but I have the self-control to hang on, even though my body screams in agony at the onslaught, and bright spots fill my vision. When it clears again, the room looks different, somehow smaller. No, the room's the same. I'm just bigger. I look down my long, porous legs. They aren't quite the same shade as Chrysalis's were. When the light catches them right, there's still a hint of my old purple coloration. I'll have to find a mirror soon. Laying there on the floor is a withered husk of a changeling. At first I assume she didn't survive the extraction process, but then she twitches. I can tell that she's trying to change shapes, but she doesn't have the magic. The 2 changeling guards are looking at me, expectant. The buzzing of the swarm is still in my head, waiting for me to claim the mantle I've just taken.
I am Twilight Sparkle, and you belong to me now.
The swarm submits and information rushes into me. This time, I'm in control of all of it. Each individual changeling is just an extension of my will, and commanding them is no more difficult than commanding my hoof to move. With a thought, I could halt the battle raging outside and send the swarm flying back to the wasteland. I don't, of course. Not when there's a whole city ripe for the taking like this. I backed the swarm off enough to keep the buildup of disharmony from triggering the elements before turning my attention back to Chrysalis, still twitching pathetically on the floor.
Your little revenge plan backfired, Chrysalis,
I say, nudging her with my hoof to ensure that I have her attention.
You thought if you tricked me into casting that time spell and made me relive this invasion over and over, you could break me. Well, who's broken now?
I push my horn into the side of her flank and direct some magic of my own into her. Her form shifts and wobbles under my control before it coalesces into the shape of a little lavender unicorn with a purple streaked mane and a starry cutie mark, proclaiming her aptitude for magic to the whole world.
You wanted Twilight Sparkle cowering before the Queen of the Changelings? Well, you got it,
I say. I glare down at the thing in front of me and I feel a surge of hate for it bubbling in my chest.
You're pathetic. You're stupid and weak and deserve to suffer for it forever, you miserable little failure.
Chrysalis is trying to talk.
Didn't any time spell. Wasn't us.
She manages out. I kick her in the chest, hard. I feel at least one of her ribs break as I do.
You will never contradict me like that again.
It's not a request or a command, merely a statement of fact. My transformation into a changeling queen left my saddlebag in a pretty sorry state, tattered on the ground beside me. I open it up and fish out what I have brought along, a collar attached to a short chain. I fasten the collar around Chrysalis's neck and drag her back to the throne by it, around the quickly cooling patches of melted marble from our fight. I yank the chain downward and secure it to the base of the throne before stepping back to admire the results. Chrysalis tries to stand, but the chain doesn't have any slack, and she can't lift her head high enough. After a few attempts, she settles onto her knees. I'm glad she's figured out her new situation in life so quickly. Every queen needs an honor guard. I call a few of the changelings in the palace to myself and take my disguise again. Every pony out in the halls is rushing to and fro when no pony pays us much mind. I seal the entrance to the throne room behind me. They'll meet their new ruler soon enough. No need to spoil the surprise. My brand new poison glands go into overdrive and I run my forked tongue over my hollow-tipped fangs. I reach out with my mind to contact the changelings getting ready to assault the train my friends are riding. They need to take those 5 alive if I'm going to exploit their connection to the elements of harmony to neutralize them for good. Who knows? Maybe I'll even convince a few to join me. As an afterthought, I send a few more to find my parents and bring them here as well. I can't wait to see what they think of their little filly, all grown up. Next stop, Luna's room. I spent many a delightful afternoon blowing off steam in that bedroom over the last however many cycles, and I don't see any reason that has to stop now. Luna might not be thrilled about the new me at first, but with a potent enough dose of mind-twisting changeling venom, I'm sure she can be made compliant. If anything else, the experiment will be absolutely delicious. Walking through the halls, I look back and take stock of the afternoon and all the other versions of it that culminated in this one. If the hive mind is to be believed, changeling queens are effectively ageless. So, even assuming I can't break the spell, it could easily be centuries before I see it again. Everything I've ever wanted, I'll take by force. Once the elements in Luna are neutralized, there won't be anything keeping me from spreading my glorious rule to every corner of Equestria. My swarm will feast for decades. I'm Twilight Sparkle, Queen of Canterlot Hive. Long live the Queen.